Well, we do have 8 o'clock, so that means it's time to zoom and tell. I feel like a game show host today. Anyway, thank you everyone for coming to the Zoom and Tell. I know we're in competition with the Olympics, which makes it difficult sometimes, especially if you have an event you would like to see. So we'll try to keep this moving, and then we can all return and see what's going on the Olympics later on. So with that, Les, I will let you take it away. I'm going to mute everyone first, and then you can unmute yourself and go ahead and proceed, Les.
Okay, Julie. Well, I'm really impressed because we got 30 participants. So this is one of the larger, if not the largest that we've ever had for the Zoom and Tell. And we are competing against the women's figure skating with the Olympics. So maybe you all heard what happened earlier in the day. So I'm a little bit surprised with the attendance because milk glass, when you talk to Cambridge collectors, there aren't a lot of them that really get excited about their collection of milk glass. Now, maybe we got some of those people tonight, and we'll learn that there are a lot of people really excited about their milk glass made by Cambridge Glass. It was a color that they made as far as for the dinnerware, decorative wear market for 3 times during their existence, and all 3 times for very short periods of time. So that would say that it didn't sell well. It wasn't popular. And, again, I like to be upbeat and positive when I talk about Cambridge glass because I like it. I like other types of glass and pottery. But the truth is, most people would probably say Cambridge wasn't that good at making milk glass compared to some others. And their first effort at making milk glass was right at the beginning of the factory, very early years, and a color opal. And I know somebody already mentioned here opal, and I don't accept that pronunciation. Opal is a gemstone, certainly a prized gemstone. Certainly back, if you go back 120 years, opal was something special, a gemstone. And opal glass was opaque glass at the time. And they also made a blue-green opaque turquoise, but it was a very short period of time, 1903 to 1905, probably, from what we know, researchers, I wasn't involved with this, but researchers have been able to find maybe a couple year period of time, 2000 or 1903 to 1905, very short production period. Then they tried milk glass again in 1922 is the first reference, I believe, in the trade journals, but that one only lasted for a couple years too, called Carrera. And Carrera is where that word comes from, almost certainly is Carrera is white marble from a region in Tuscany, and there's a city there named Carrera. I think it's kind of a cool name myself, and it's unique. It's not milk. But it must not have sold well because it was a very short period of time. And then they tried milk glass again in 1954. I think the first reference was in the summer of 1954, but that was just before the initial closing of the plant. That's a more recent time period. So obviously more of it, has probably survived. And the swans in particular they made a lot of them, and we'll probably see some of those tonight. So opal, Carrera, and milk would be the 3. Now, of course, I always look at that Henry Helmer's batch book. Henry Helmer's was at the factory for a short period of time, really in the 1930s, but he really came up with those smashing colors that a lot of us like, the brilliant transparent colors plus Crown Tuscan. But he had his batch book, he collected formulas from all over, other companies, the companies he had worked for. And he had 215 formulas in his batch book for white opal glass. And many of them were Cambridge, but they didn't fit into those 3 time periods that we just talked about. So maybe on this topic, maybe Larry could chime in, because what I think was going on, Cambridge made a lot of milk glass for the commercial market, for vendors. The farmhouse I grew up in, all the doorknobs were glass, the kind of like a Cambridge glass, but in our house, they were crystal. So Cambridge was making glass all the time, like for stoplights and cars and doorknobs and that type of thing. Larry, do you have any idea from some of the records on a given year, what percentage of the glass that Cambridge made and sold was for the dinnerware, decorative ware market, which appears in the trade journals and the price lists, the catalogs, versus these commercial vendors that they sold to? Do you have any handle on that?
We don't really have a good handle yet, Les, but it was a pretty significant quantity.
Yeah.
One company, actually it was right in Cambridge also, is the Imperial company that did the rolling pins, for example. So that's just one example that Cambridge made the glass for those.
Yeah. So I suspect Cambridge made a lot more milk glass than we're aware of, but it was for the commercial market. It was sold to commercial vendors. It did not appear in a catalog that went to retailers, department stores, or one thing like that. So we're just talking about these three white colors, opaque white colors that were used for the probably the dinnerware, decorative glass market, that type of thing. Again, coming back to the name of that first one, Opal, a little side story. I grew up in southern Minnesota. My hometown is called Blooming Prairie, and it's 16 miles north of Austin, Minnesota, where the factory, what you people call Hormel meat, Hormel. Well, when I was growing up, it was not Hormel, it was Hormel. And the family, George Hormel, he was one of the numerous husbands of Zsa Zsa Gabor. It was Hormel. And I think it was when I was in high school or just after, all of a sudden we heard these advertisements. Hormel? What's Hormel? It's Hormel. So apparently for marketing purposes, they thought Hormel sounded more appealing. And that's probably what you're all used to, Hormel, Cure 81 ham. So you could say, well, maybe they did the same thing with Opal. They wanted Opal because, it sounded better for marketing. There's a real problem with that, though. Home radios weren't introduced until about 1920. So there was no oral marketing of any of these names prior to 1920. So these types of things among collectors, we can call them whatever we want, whatever makes you happy. But I'm having a hard time accepting that it would have been Opal. It would have been Opal, because Opal was a prized gemstone, and perhaps a dealer or a glass dealer or a collector decided it should be called Opal. But you can call it whatever you want. There was another company that was really fantastic at making milk glass, and I bet some of you know who that is. Anybody chime up? Who is the premier maker of milk glass in the previous century?
Westmoreland.
It sure was, Guinea, and it was splendid. And when I think back 35 years, when I was first getting into collecting and glass, I was struggling a bit. What drew me into Cambridge glass was the Swans. It's still my first love, but I was struggling. I loved Paneled Grape by Westmoreland, and man, is that beautiful milk glass. And I've got some examples here of Cambridge milk glass production, and the quality standards just aren't there compared to what Westmoreland produced. I did a little checking on Westmoreland. I don't know if it's true, but Wikipedia says that 90% of the glass made by Westmoreland was milk glass. So I think, again, Cambridge was very different. These factories had a different approach. And I do believe, as Larry verified, that Cambridge relied heavily on a general glass market, glass that wasn't sold for fine dining or decorative purposes. But thank goodness they made it for fine dining and decorative purposes as well. The last thing then maybe is like the glass formula. It turns out that opaque glass, the ingredient that makes it opaque, so it's not transparent, so you can't see it, is fluorospar or fluorite, same thing, which is just calcium fluoride. And when that's added to a glass formula, it just gets cloudy. So it's every opal, you got green opal, you've got yellow opal, you've got orange opal, you've got white opal. Because opal, the gemstone, can come in many colors. Opal is really, it's a gemstone, but it's not only white necessarily. And calcium fluoride is colorless unless it's got impurities in it. But apparently you put that in a batch of glass, and it clouded the glass up, so it became opaque. And then looking at the different opaque colors, it's the standard colors, it's cadmium sulfide for yellow, it's selenium for pink, it's cobalt oxide for blue, but that was that fluorospar that made the difference. Now for the milk glass colors, I couldn't find a consistent ingredient other than just the fluorospar that was added to the formula. There were different things that were added that maybe became the colorant to make it white, or it may be that fluorospar, when it went into a batch of glass, it tended to make it white, and you had to take another colorant to move it away from there. So that's my background information, Julie. I do have a few examples here to get the discussion rolling. So for opal, this is a piece that we believe is Cambridge. Very early, again, this was, like the first 5 years that Cambridge Glass Company was making glass. It's the Red Riding Hood, toy punch bowl. I think there was a lot of concern about whether it was really made by Cambridge. I think now we've got decent evidence that it was made by Cambridge. And this would be opal. Now, again, if you look at the quality control, it's not my screen. This thing is really tilted. That's why I've got these on the bottom. It's crooked. It's very crooked. And there's imperfections in the milk glass. There's little dark spots here and there, some on the bottom as well. So again, it's kind of a cool little toy set for children, but I don't think you could sell us on the glass market today and have happy customers with this tilted as that punch bowl is. There was matching little cups. It's hard to see. There you go. The little Red Riding Hood design on it. That is actually the only piece of opal that I've got in my collection. I'm going to, Julie, I hope you won't mind that I show the other color turquoise that was made at the same time as opal, because it's a turquoise. And I don't think we'll have a program on turquoise, because this is the only turquoise color that I'm aware that Cambridge made. The little Red Riding Hood design shows up a little bit better on this piece. So exactly the same time period, we believe, as opal. And this one, yep, it's even more tipsy than the other one as far as tilted. So the quality control wasn't fantastic. And likewise, for that little punch set, they had the matching little cups to go with it. I got one other piece of turquoise here. This also was made, this set, salt and pepper, was made in opal. So either one, were made in this color. There's not a lot of different things that were made. It was a very short production period time. And of course, those early years of the Cambridge glass factory, I think almost all of the molds came from the National Glass House. And so, these items could have been made at another factory in an opaque color, but they do kind of fit the descriptions that we have of opal and of turquoise, those really extremely early colors made by Cambridge. So that was that 1903, 1905 period, clearly antique at this point, going back, more than 115 years. Their next attempt at Carrera was exactly 100 years ago, about 1922. I've got two pieces to show. This is a little novelty, the top hat. This one happens to have, these were, I think at fairs and expositions they had one. This one's got the lettering Crookston, Minnesota on it, northern Minnesota. We used to have a dairy cattle herd at the University of Minnesota up there, and I was responsible for the genetics of that herd. So I made many trips up there. It's north of Fargo. They've got winter up in that country, I'll tell you. But again, the quality control isn't good. The edges are rough. It's the way it came out of the mold. The buying public might not have been impressed with this type of milk glass production. Another piece that I have that's Carrera. This one I really like. It's a little bit large for displaying, but it is Carrera. This is probably the highest quality milk glass piece that I have, and it's got red enamel bands on it as well that are well done. So I would say this is of the quality of milk glass that Westmoreland was probably making. It's a sparkly, clear, smooth milk glass with no imperfections as far as dark spots or streaky spots. That was the other thing. A lot of the Carrera, I've had candlesticks that were just very streaky. And that Harold Bennett said that can be because if they don't clean the mold well, that you can get some of those streaks that appear in some of these opaque colors. Then in 1954, before the initial closing of the plant, they did, make milk glass, and apparently it wouldn't surprise me at that time because that was really a prime era for Westmoreland. They were trying to compete with Westmoreland, and it was a tough time in the glass market because imports were coming in. So I'm sure we'll see some other swans tonight. I know we're going to see some other swans tonight. This is a 3-inch type 3, because that's the time era would be the type 3 swan with the spread wings. This one has gold decoration just painted on the edges. This is the only one of these I have ever seen in the 3-inch size. This actually came out of the Bennett Museum too. So, if you want an unusual swan that you could probably get at a low price, this one, if you see that gold decoration, it's the only one I've ever seen in 35 years of looking for Cambridge swans. Then a similar one is the Charlton decoration that they placed, and we'll probably see some other Charlton decorated pieces. This kind of spattered gold on the side and the roses, and they placed them on different parts. Here it worked for them to put the roses on the inside of the wings, but they're really kind of neat. I think these swans, the Charlton decoration is appealing to some people and not to others, but I know Charlie Upton really loved the Charlton decorated milk glass. And 2 other pieces that I've got in milk glass. This is Caprice reflector candlestick and milk. I don't think too many of these have popped up, but again, they didn't make milk, for very long. Just a period there in 1954. And again, I'm happy to have this in my collection, but again, the quality isn't great. There's kind of rough spots on the inside. It's the way it came from the factory. It's not perfectly smooth. And you look at the bottom here, there's kind of some dark spots in here. So again, for the buying public, you got Westmoreland that's putting out this milk glass that's just, absolutely perfect. And then you've got Cambridge that, well, it's okay, it's pretty, but not quite as nice. And then the last piece, Julie, I've got is that in milk glass, Cambridge did 4 of the Everglade vases in milk glass, and I collect opaque Everglades, so I had to have all 4 of them. And this is good. The top rim is not polished. They didn't polish the top rim on these milk glass vases. So again, I think that the buying public might have been a little suspicious of how hard they were working to put out a high quality product. So Julie, that's all I have for background information. I don't know if there happens to be any additional comments from others or questions.
Are there any questions from anyone? It seems very interesting to me that the quality control was not very good. And so I wonder if that's a reason because of the chemistry of the glass, or do you think it was just, I can't imagine they didn't care, but maybe it was just the way it was produced. I'm not really sure. Any
My
guesses?
Yeah, my response to that, maybe others would have answers. I think part of it was the production periods. Again, I think the Carrera was their best, and that that's when they were doing heavily azurite and some other colors. Those early years, it was rough. They were getting going, and then Milk was towards the end, and we know what happened in the reopen period. Their quality control and the quality of the ingredients, the cost of the ingredients went down. So my response with part of it would be the production periods when they were trying to, especially with Milk, compete with Westmoreland. I don't think there was anything unique about Milk glass that they couldn't have been as high quality.
I have a question, Les.
Okay.
What was the time span for Carrara? How long was it made?
Well, again, these things, we can only go by trade journals, price lists. So I think I'm correct that we believe just very short, 1922 to 1923. That's why there's so little of it. So again, I tend to think the Carrera was somewhat higher quality compared to the Milk and the Opal, but it must not have been a big seller compared to the other things that Cambridge produced, because you just don't see a lot of it.
Les, we probably should mention somewhere in between Carrera and Milk, they did some experimental white glass as well. There's not much of it, but
well, they're like I say, there's numerous formulas in the batch books. They were making Milk glass, I think, but I think it was more for the commercial market. Commercial vendors direct to a producer of doorknobs or one thing or another. Were you aware of any other formulas that were used for the decorative market that appeared in price lists or catalogs for the retail market?
not yet anyway.
No. Yeah, I agree with you, Larry.
Okay, are there any other questions for Les before we move on to the Zoom and Tell portion? If not, we will start today with Gwinnell. She will be first, and on deck will be Alan.
Well, I have the milk glass where we've got the oil that came out of the Caprice line. It's the number W90. And it looks good. Then the W124, the vase also came out of Caprice. It's not quite as shiny as the oil, but it is kind of a cloudy. The top is not finished as well as the known Caprice. And the last piece we have is another vase, the W125. It has more of a shiny texture to it. It does have the sticker. And again, it's not finished up around the rim. And it does have a couple of spots on the bottom. That's what we have.
Okay, thank you. I find it's really interesting that we really don't see the finishing on that edge. And I can't for the life of me figure out why they would not do that, make it more finished.
They only produced it maybe 6 months before the closing. So it was a really short period.
Yeah, true. So I don't know. Okay, so next we'll go on to Alan, and then we will follow Alan with Ken, please.
My first item is a Farber 6131 76-ounce pitcher in milk, which is very polished around the lip, the top, all parts of it. The metal part is brass. And I bought this set with 4 tumblers, believe it or not, 21 years ago from, some of you may remember, Norman Mason at a Cambridge show. This is the tumbler that went with it. I have 4 of these, also with brass holders. It's polished. It's very, very thin. And there is a question, and I mentioned this in an email to Les earlier. In the Miami Valley Study Group website, I looked up the number for this. The tumbler is the Farber 5633, and it's a 12-ounce tumbler. In the Miami Valley study group's website, they identify it as Carrera. That's why I asked about the time span. It can't be, but it is so thin, it's almost transparent. You can see the light right through it, which you cannot see through the picture. My second item is also Farber, a 5410 decanter set with a 3400 156 decanter. Unfortunately, it has a crystal stopper, not a milk stopper. But according to my Farber book, it came both ways. And it has a chrome holder around it.
Scott, isn't that a hard one to find?
What's that?
Scott, I was asking Scott, isn't that one hard to find in milk?
What is that?
Yeah, it is, Les. It's very hard to find.
Yeah.
And
Do you
especially
have that
with the
one?
milk stopper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only seen one with the stopper, and the others I've seen are with what I have in crystal. It too has a polished lip and is very, very thin at the top. I have 4 1-ounce cordials with it, also with the chrome base, very delicate. Again, it's all polished. There are no flaws in the glass or in the chrome for that matter. However, there is a question, and that is whether Cambridge actually made it, since it's in the 50s and possibly late 50s, or whether Morgantown made them. In Judy's Farber book, she has a question about it, Cambridge and or Morgantown. My last item is a Seashell 51 8-inch dolphin candelabrum, excuse me. In milk, it's W109. It has the number 20 Bobish and the number 10 prisms.
Very nice.
And that's it.
Oh, thank you so much. I really enjoyed seeing the Farber because we forget about Farber so many times. There's not a lot of people that are really collecting tons of Farber. I see a lot of Farber because my dad collects Farber, and he actually has similar to what you have there, but he
Right.
doesn't have those really cute little stems. Those were magnificent. I really liked those.
Well,
So
when I originally started collecting Cambridge glass, I was also collecting Farber at the time. And I met Judy, who wrote the Farber Chromecraft book in Adamstown, Pennsylvania, in an antique mall. And I asked her, and this was early 90s, maybe the mid 90s, I asked her when she was coming out with her next book. She said she didn't think she would be able to produce a second book because her publisher said there weren't enough sales. So that ties in with what you were just saying. Not enough collectors of Farber.
mhm.
We love it.
Yes, yes. I have some Farber pieces as well, only because Chantilly was one of the few etches that was actually put in many different Farber items.
Right.
So I can appreciate what you have there. So thank you so much.
Alan, I think in Julie's book, doesn't she say that about 80% of the glass part of Farberware was made by Cambridge,
Yes.
but they had other companies that made it. And,
Yeah.
it brings up this question. If that milk was made by Morgantown, is that a problem to you as a collector? I know we often have this as hardcore Cambridge glass people, that if it's not Cambridge, it's rubbish. And I'm just not in that camp. I like Consolidated, I like Phoenix, I like Heisey. And if it's beautiful Farberware and it matches something else, who cares if it was Morgantown or Imperial or anything like that? I don't know if you got any reaction to that, but
No, I get a little fussy, but I love it, so I'm keeping it.
I don't blame you. Okay, so next we have Ken, and then we will follow Ken with Joanne, please.
Okay, well, like I said, I have one piece. It's Carrera, and it's a special article number 29, and it's a 12-inch bowl with the golden crusted peacocks on it. And this one, the edge is pretty nicely done. They did And the glass is nice too. They did a nice job on.
Lost.
Yeah, you're right, Kenny. I've got that bowl too, but to get it out of my display case would have been really hard. So
It's
there's not
beautiful
many of
though.
those out there. I think there's only 3 of them.
No, beautiful, beautiful.
Okay,
Okay, so Joanne, and then we will have, is Stu Sandler here? I didn't see Stu earlier. Okay, we'll put Sue on deck.
okay, so we have the Mount Vernon. I don't know if you can see it with the camera, the Mount Vernon goblet. That's the ball stem there. I know. And then we have the salt in the Mount Vernon, which is, it's a nice little, and these are all not all ground, all polished. And then we have the Mount Vernon candy dish, just really hard to see with this camera. And then I have one weird thing. Well, we have the dolphin candlesticks, but I didn't get those out. But this may be Imperial. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if you can tell. Wait a minute. Let me see if I can get it over there. It's got the I think it's that Imperial Mount Vernon kind of look-alike thing, but it's hard to tell. So, but it is
Okay.
milk glass. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell there, and the quality of
Yeah.
your camera is not
I know,
helping
it's-
either.
Yeah, it's not, but everybody knows what these pieces look like. And I'm sure that Freeman will have them. So.
He really doesn't have a lot, so you're ahead of him on this, so it's all good. All right, so now that we have Joanne, we will do Sue Cameron, and then we will follow Sue with Larry Everett, please.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sue.
You know, Caprice is my love. So when Gwinnell was showing those vases, I got really jealous. I have the small one. It's a number 237, except in milk glass, it's a W124. It's about 4.5 inches tall, and it too has an unfinished lip. So I also have a 6-inch number 3 swan. It has the Charlton spattered rose design. The roses go in a little trellis all the way around the edge of the wings, and it has gold on the edges, on the beak, the feet, and the decorator put her mark in the center of the bottom. So, and the last thing is a little 4.5 inch milk glass swan. This one is a W95, and this one, when you get it in the light, the head, the neck, and both of the wings show a lot of iridescence and fire. And if you get it just right, you can see some in the tail, but it really shows off when it's in the good light. Oh, and that's what we have.
Okay, thank you. I always enjoy seeing the Charlatan decorated pieces. I just think the art, you know, the craftsmanship and how they look and how they appear is always such of a high quality. So
well, and to think that someone does that freehand, it's just mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, yeah, especially from people like me who can't draw a lick. So yeah, that's spectacular. Spectacular. So thank you for sharing. Okay, next, I believe I just said, is it Larry that's up? And I had a visitor on my lap who disturbed my pen writing. So after Larry, we will have, let me look here, Jack and Elaine, please.
Okay, I have a 7-inch candy tray in opal. Doesn't look like much from that side. The real decoration is on the back. I really love that piece. Notice all the candy is gone. No, there never was any on there. And this is probably one of Susan's favorite sets. This is Carrera, and it's a,
Larry, we don't see your video.
I see you.
it should be on the screen.
It's
Yeah,
on the
anyway,
screen.
comb and
Yeah.
brush tray.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay.
Yeah, we see it.
And the
Okay,
puff
I'm
box,
sorry.
2 pomades and the pin box.
Where is it?
And I made a big mistake tonight because I brought out some ivory pieces as well, but we'll wait for those at the end in case we have time.
Yes, we had to tell some other people no ivory tonight, Larry. So
Right. No-
you'll
no
have to
problem.
wait
No
maybe to
problem.
another month if we don't have time tonight. So sorry about that. But that was a beautiful little set with the pin box and everything. I've never seen that. So that's really a very unique set. And I do like, as you say, you hold that dish up and it's really showing the relief pattern so nicely. So, and again, it's on the underside rather than on the side you would see. So very interesting with
Right.
that. So thank you. So next we have Jack and Elaine, and then after Jack and Elaine, I think we'll go to Dorothy then.
Okay, thanks, Julie.
Mhm.
Let's see if I can get this in the right light. It's funny, sometimes I've noticed the camera, there's probably some settings to do, just kind of almost washes out all the white in there. So, but what this is, I don't know if I can even get it to where you can see it a little better, is it's a crucifix candlestick. This is the number 1 in opal. We'll call it opal. And this was produced, in that early 1903. These things I think are hard to identify because it appears, somebody did a convention program some years ago talking about the crucifix candlestick and how many different companies made them, and they all look the same, it seems like. So, but this is a Cambridge one, so that is the old one. And by the way, you can, if we're talking about condition, this thing is really rough too. None of the edges are really cleaned up and smooth, etc. So I have a Carrera piece, and this is the number 71 7.5-inch candlestick, and this was really nicely done. It's the color is really nice. It's consistent. It's beautiful. So, and then I've got a couple of pieces which are interesting, and they always elicit some things. But we talked about the rolling pin, and this was made for the Imperial Manufacturing Company in Cambridge, and it's got their Imperial Rite listed on the side here. But whenever this is listed, like I got this at the Cambridge auction, like some year, I think I saw where I got this in 2006. But it's listed as either opal or Carrera. So apparently nobody knows what it is. It's on the Miami Valley site that way. I don't know if anybody has anything to add to that or what, because I'd like to know. I thought it was Carrera myself, but
Well,
Larry?
it was a long production period when they made those. So it probably started out as opal, and then they're still produced it when they were producing Carrera.
Okay.
I would, that one was sold to the other company. So that wasn't sold by Cambridge to retailers or anything like that. So again, I think Cambridge was making milk glass all along. It just wasn't stuff that they sold in their dinnerware, decorative ware markets. So, does it really matter if it's opal or Carrera?
Yeah, to me it does. Yeah, I'd like to know.
Well, I mean, again, we're saying opal or Carrera for that decorative glass market, and that's not really what went on. It might not be during those production periods at all. It was milk
True.
glass made by Cambridge, sold to another commercial vendor. kind of like stoplights, I don't care if that's, what color we call that from the Colors in Cambridge book. They made all kinds of other colors, but
Okay.
I'd say Carrera if you want a color, Jack.
The next piece I have is a seed cup. And this is also one, we were talking about this before we started tonight. And you can see it kind of, I'm going to bring it over by me. Maybe you can see a little more. It's the seed cups first appeared in the 1903 catalog, I think it was. And they were available in opal and crystal. But this design doesn't match those designs. Then Cambridge came out with them again, and I'm going to show this one. This is an azurite one, and it's identical. And you also can find these in jade. And you can see that there. So that, which means they were produced in the 20s. So I'm wondering what this is. It could be opal, although they would have had to change the design way back when, or it's very possible this is Carrera because it matches the design of the azurite and jade one. So that's probably what I tend to think it is. But anyway, seed cup, kind of cool. And that gets back to what we were talking about, that parakeets and birds were pretty big fun back in the 20s. And then I've had a few milk things. People had I won't show that. I'll just show this one last thing. And this is the Mount Vernon 2 Light candlestick. This did not have a milk number, a W number, like most of the other ones did. So don't know why that is, whatever, but I have a pair of these anyway. It was just the regular Mount Vernon number 110 candlestick. So, and that's what I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was an interesting conversation we had about the items, Carrera, Opal, and again, if it's a long period of time that they were manufactured, it's going to be difficult to determine exactly what that color is. And I don't know if you had them side by side, would you be able to really see a large difference, do you think, Les?
No.
Or Larry?
No.
I didn't think so either. So, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that very much. And next we have Dorothy. And on deck, let's go. I think the Czechs had some glass as well. So first Dorothy, then the Czechs, please.
Okay. Would you want to show any of the photos I sent that would, especially the one with the etch?
I'll show that at the end.
Okay. I'm going to put this closer to over by the dark window. This is just a lovely bowl, I think. I assume it's Carrera. And this, I think it's usually described as one of the specialty items in some of the books, and some of them have numbers in like the 47 and 48, but I kind of like it because it is really nice glass. You can kind of see the shine on it. It's very simple, but it's a very lovely glass. Some things I've seen in the books call it the ivory, and some call it Carrera. It looks like Carrera to me.
Yeah, that looks like Carrera all the way.
Yeah. And the same thing with the candlesticks. I've seen it shown called both Carrera and ivory. And ivory always confuses me. I don't understand ivory.
Yeah, no, that's Carrera, and that looks like you've got the rose, etched rose on the base too, don't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and both of these etches are in the Miami Valley study. The one on the larger bowl, I believe is Egypt.
Yes, that's correct. Right.
Yeah, and this is kind of the one I'm not sure about. It looks like the 7-inch one that you showed, but this one is shorter and it's kind of thin compared to most of the pictures that I've seen of them. So that one is kind of a mystery.
Would you say it's shorter?
Yes, it's only maybe like 6.5 inch or so. It's definitely not a 7-incher.
Oh, that's quite a bit shorter. That's almost an inch shorter. That is strange, because there's actually a taller version of that candlestick that's much skinnier that you rarely see. It's the 71.5 as opposed to the 71. I thought that's what you were going to say, and so I don't know what you have there.
He's short, and I've looked through all of Tom Felt's book to see if I could find any others that are, about the same. Other than being short and kind of skinny, it looks just like the same Cambridge one that you have. And I think the other one that I was going to show, the Gadroon one, that's a mystery. I would say that it's closer to ivory, but that's kind of the mystery one as to who made this guy. So
I don't think the production period there fits for ivory. I think that's got to be milk glass.
right. In Tom Felt's book, he talks about Imperial made them, and Fenton has also made that, but again, those two, they think, just made them in crystal during that period.
Well,
so.
Imperial made that candlestick, reproduced it in quite a few colors, but I wasn't aware that they made it in milk glass, but they may have. Larry, do you know anything about that?
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I really don't.
Yeah.
I think it's most likely Cambridge.
Right. Apparently Tom Felt doesn't know either, but I get that book is getting kind of old. So maybe at some point somebody will know. And let's see, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And as she said, there'll be one other picture that she sent to me previously. And actually, I believe that candlestick you just showed, Dorothy, is also in one of the photos that you sent to me that came through. So we can pop that back up and you can see the color a little bit. I think it's going to show the color a little bit better in the photograph rather than you holding it up. So thank you for sharing those with us.
Okay.
Okay, so next we have the checks. And then I don't know if Stu Sadler has shown up yet. I don't see him on my group, but maybe he's under another name.
Hey, Julie.
Yes.
Stu is unable to join this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next we have the checks. And is there anyone else that will have glass after the checks?
I have a few pieces, Julie.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, we'll start with the smallest one, the little mini cornucopia vase here, which is 4 inches tall. We've got a pair of those. We don't have a swan punch bowl, but we do have one swan punch cup. And we've got a couple of them in crystal too, but I think the milk glass is just so stunning. I just love that. And then we have a pair of swan milk glass candlesticks. Let's turn it so you can see the candle holder. And these really look nice with red candles at Christmas time. And then the other two pieces that we haven't seen already tonight
the seashell vase. And then the Martha Washington picture. We really like the Martha Washington pattern. This is quite a heavy piece. And then I didn't know until tonight that that Cambridge made the rolling pin. So I always thought it was Imperial. When I saw the Imperial, writing on it, I figured it was made by Imperial. So we've got a rolling pin too. The other pieces we've already seen tonight. So that's it.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you always having something to show us. And again, it's always nice to see those punch cups. I have the regular ones, but I certainly don't have the milk glass. And I think they're just really elegant in that milk glass pattern. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, sure.
Next, we will have Walter, and then last we'll have Greg. Okay, Walter, can you unmute yourself?
I just did, I think.
Okay, there you go.
I only have, all I have are a pair of creamer and sugar in the Centennial or the, I forgot what else they call it. This pattern's got 3 names and I can never remember the other 2, but I don't know if you can see them.
Well, we got to have you move your one hand. There you go. Can you hold it up in front of your red shirt, maybe?
There you go. How's that?
Perfect.
All right, that's the creamer. That's the sugar rather, and this is the matching creamer. The interesting thing is I'd like to just make a couple of comments. Years ago, I went to Summit Glass and we bought some glass there, and I spoke with the Vogelsongs, and they told me that the milk glass corroded it really tears up the molds a lot. So as it was kind of labor intensive and expensive to produce. And Foster, not Foster, but Fenton said the same thing. So I don't know if that had any bearing on the fact that Cambridge didn't make milk glass for very long. Can you hear me?
Yes, that's a very interesting fact. Do you have anything to weigh in on that, Les? Maybe that this particular formulation was just the milk glass is hard on the molds? Would it be a chemical issue?
I had never heard that, and there's no notations in that regard in any of the notes or batch books that I've seen, but that doesn't mean it isn't the case.
Well, they said it was very corrosive.
I don't know what would be corrosive to them because all the opaque glass is essentially the same formula except for the colorant. But I'm not going to argue with Russ. I had good visits with him, so
Well, the other thing is, many years ago, we took a trip out to Cambridge, and we actually got to peek in the old factory. It was in deplorable shape, and some of the windows were broken, but you could actually look inside the factory, and inside there was a whole bunch of globes that they must have made for lighting globes, and they were like in a milk glass color. So apparently they were doing commercial work before they went out.
Which factory are you talking about, Walter?
The Cambridge factory.
Yeah. Oh, they did all kinds of milk glass globes as well as doorknobs. Yes. Yeah.
And the other thing I have to tell you, which I'm really kind of excited about, either my brain is dead or I have to go look into my shed. But when Kenny showed his Carrera bowl and you said you had one, I swear I have that same bowl with the gold decoration. I got to look at my stash and see if I can find it. But I think I have it.
Number 4.
Oh, good. What he was saying about but when you go back to your formula and it's a fluoride, and being a chemist, if it was anyway oxidized into its fluoric acid, it would be extremely harsh because fluoric acid is an etching agent. So that could, if it was somehow oxidized into an acid type situation, it could be really hard on the mold. So that may be an accurate description.
So
Julie, that would apply to all the opaque glass though.
Yeah.
Not just milk glass.
Right.
Well, just a thought. I'm impressed you're a chemist, huh?
Yes, by training. I don't use it so much anymore, but I still remember a few things.
I'm an old science teacher myself.
Okay, great.
I was a chem major, bio minor.
Okay, excellent.
Well,
thank you. Thank you for showing us your milk glass. We appreciate it.
Thanks
and last,
I saved it till the end because I thought 500 people would have the same thing.
Nope, you're one of the only ones tonight. Not a lot of people tonight. So
Okay.
last, we'll go to Greg.
Hey, everybody. I've got about 4 items of milk glass in my collection, and I'm going to show, well, 2.5 of them tonight, I guess. I do have one piece of Charlton decorated milk glass. I guess it's about an 8-inch seashell bowl, and it's nicely done with the flowers and the gold spattered around here and there on it. I don't think I haven't seen a lot of that really on milk glass, but I guess they must have made it for a little while. And the other item I have is the set that I bought a while back. It's a Farber set with a silver tone base on it, and this one's got the milk glass stopper, and it is nicely polished right around the rim. And with it is, and I don't know if this was sold with the decanter, but it's the little cups that went with it. But the interesting thing is, I think the tray that it was on, kind of a neat little Farber tray with a little doohickey here to carry it around in if you're courageous enough to carry it around. Anyway, it's got kind of a neat little fiberglass, little Farberware tray there. That's all.
Well, that is really cute. I like that a lot. And I noticed those are the short, almost like the little squats instead of the others that were on the stem. So I was glad to see the differences. Now I do have a question about that stopper. You know, a lot of the stoppers, that didn't seem to be like a normal one. I always think it has like the little arcs that go around the stopper. Does it have that, or is it's just not showing, or is it smooth?
It's it's very thin.
Mm-hmm.
Get it? Okay, there you go. It's very, very thin, especially down here at the right at the base. Is very, very thin down there. But no, it doesn't have any like 3400 characteristics. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's just it fits very nicely. It's polished and it's
hollow. And it's hollow.
It's hollow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very hollow.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very thin.
Julie?
Yes.
That is the third milk glass stopper that I've seen for that particular decanter. And all 3 of them have been exactly like that. They're very thin, they're hollow, they're blown, and it does not have that draped or that handkerchief 3400 look to them.
Thank you. I wondered about that because I noticed that when he was showing it, I didn't see the 3400. And when he held it up, I was like, oh, it's hollow. I didn't even know it would be hollow. So that surprised me. So thank you. Is there anyone I missed tonight before I go to a few photos? Anybody? Okay, so we're going to try to do this. I'm going to share my screen. I like it when they come up right away. So Dorothy, do you want to describe this since this is your piece? Well, anyway, Dorothy had told me that this is a gold band with the E528 Egypt decoration. Oops. I got a screen share again. This is the other, can you still see my screen, everyone? Okay. Oh, this is the piece that she had been showing that looked with the gadroon. Now you can see the color is not quite as white as it was when she was holding it. Do you have any comments on this, Les, now that you see it in a little bit different light?
I don't know what that is.
If I had to guess, it'd be Crown Tuscan.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay.
Fenton, excuse me, Fenton actually had that mold and they reproduced the Rams had short candlesticks in milk glass looking like that. So
You're
I don't
right,
know.
Walter. I said Imperial earlier. It was Fenton that
Yeah.
made a lot of these.
Yeah, they did.
Well, and I'm unmuted now. I would say it's actually lighter in person than what that photo shows. So it's a very creamy color.
Yeah.
Is there a pink? Is there a pink cast to it though?
There's no pink in it.
Okay.
All right. And so the last photo I have, and this is from, I've got to move everybody over here. This is from the Moors. There are 3 Mount Vernon vases. I know Jeannie, you were here. Do you want to describe the vases? Please unmute yourself.
You're still on the candlestick, Julie.
Okay,
Oh.
Freeman's here.
It's still on the candlestick? Okay,
Yeah.
let me see. I'm showing one thing and okay, so I got to share again. For some reason, this doesn't like to do it. Now we can see the vases?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Freeman is here. He just walked in from class.
Put him on the spot, Jeannie.
What you've seen already. So I just thought I'd share vases as opposed to a full table setting of white Mount Vernon. But 3 different vases, nice. It's interesting, the center one is sort of cupped in as opposed to flared out.
Yes, I would think that would actually be a little more conducive for arranging the stems in the flares, actually.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it would be very helpful to do that. So I'm going to stop sharing now. And those are all the photos that I have for this evening. We didn't have a lot of milk tonight, but certainly the pieces that we did see have been fabulous. So thank you to everyone that has shared your glass this evening. Are there any other additional comments from Les or anyone else, or any questions anybody had on any pieces before I turn it over to David? Okay, David.
Is
I'll
there
let-
no video this evening from Tim and Nancy?
Good evening, everyone. This is Tim and Nancy Croce from down at Carthage, Illinois. Sorry we can't make the Zoom meeting tonight, but we want to send this video down for the Carrera and the milk glass presentation. I hope you enjoy it. Let's turn this camera around and we'll get this show going. First of all, I have a piece of Carrera. This is it's just in the book as a number 112. It's in the 1903 catalog. Next to it here is a salt and pepper with a base here, a handled base. That it's in the book as it's shown as an Opal Queen is the name of it, and it's salt and pepper with a tray. Everglade mug, Everglade vase with an oval lid, Everglade rose bowl, Everglade vase with the unusual top, and Everglade vase and tulip. And this platter goes with that vase, and isn't that stellar? They're a great combination. We have a swan, a little swan, and beautiful Rose Charlton large cigarette box. This is a Rose Charlton shell with speckles in the middle, and underneath it has the tinfoil Rose Charlton sign with number 2031 on it, whatever that means. This one is a Rose Charlton oval bowl. Come on, camera, focus up there. There we go. There is a small tumbler, a footed goblet, marmalade with spoon, a shell, shot glass in Mount Vernon, Cambridge Caprice, squat vase, caprice vase with this top. This particular vase is very similar, but with a different top and a caprice pattern. We have I got back up here just a little bit. That's the smallest decanter in Mount Vernon. Then back behind here, they're calling that a covered urn. And I'd never believed it, but it is footed, and it's a beautiful piece. And this one is a Mount Vernon Ivy Ball. This one is called a number 54 pitcher. This one is a near cut book in 1916 called a Candy Plate. 7 inches. We have single Mount Vernon candle sticks. This one is a Mount Vernon coaster. Looks like this on this side and the Mount Vernon pattern on the back. Cornucopia, small. Salt and pepper in Mount Vernon. And the vinegar oil here. And I think that's all that I have to show you tonight. Hope you enjoy the milk glass showing, and I'm anxious to be able to get the video when they send it to me on the internet, because I really enjoy seeing everybody else's presentations that they have too. So God bless you all, and looking forward to seeing everybody at the upcoming auction in March. God bless you all. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Well, it was a wonderful evening this evening. I too was a little bit surprised by the wonderful turnout we had. I apologize for not being able to share any milk this evening, but I don't have any milk, Carrera or Opal, in my collection. And it was fun to see that a lot of people do have some nice milk collections out there. So it's kind of fun to see those pieces that you don't see on a regular basis. Well, first, I just want to announce that next month is the March benefit auction. And the timing of the auction would fall on the following, or I should say the membership meeting would fall the following day after the third Thursday. So we're not having a Zoom and Tell in March. We just hope that everyone can make it to Cambridge and join everyone live for a wonderful auction. Upcoming Zoom and Tells in April will be Helio and Violet. That's 2 purple opaque colors that Cambridge made from the 20s and into the 50s. And then the May meeting will be Rubina and Sunset. Those are both going to be wonderful Zoom and Tell programs with some really cool pieces of glass and some hopefully some really cool information to learn about those productions and how those different colors and items were produced. It's been over a year now since we've been doing Zoom and Tell, and it makes me so happy that we have so many people a year and a half into the Zoom and Tell still showing up on a monthly basis. So thank you for everyone who shows up on a monthly basis, or when you can, and you're willing to share the glass, because I think that really is what connects all of us together, is our passion for glass. And it's just wonderful to be around people that share that passion, and that's really nice. And I enjoy logging on each month to see what people have and see the enthusiasm they have sharing their glass. So I really appreciate that. And we have a wonderful crew. Julie does a great job moderating every month, and Les gives a great educational component to this that I don't know where he comes up with this information, but I know I learn something every month from what he shares with us. And I think it's just a wonderful resource that we have here in this organization. So that's all I've got this evening. Again, I hope we can make it to the March auction here in about a month. That would be great to see everyone. And we'll see everyone in April for Helio and Violet.
Thank you, David. And again, thank you. I want to echo David's sentiments. It's always so nice to see everyone on a monthly basis, to see all the beautiful pieces that you have at home and that you're sharing them with us. And again, all of us that work behind the scenes, we really appreciate you people that bring everything back to us so that we can enjoy it. David puts it into the crystal ball so other people that are not on Zoom can enjoy some of the pieces, or understand what they missed. And again, if you can make it to auction, wonderful. If you can't, we look forward to seeing you in April. So I have some good news and some bad news. I kept my television on. We missed the American skaters, so I'm sorry, but the rest of the skaters are going to be still on once you turn your television on after Zoom. So have a good evening, and we'll see each other in April. Thank you so much, everyone.